Hello everyone, my name is Atchax and today we're going to be doing an overview of the defensive angles on the bind B site at the request of one of the subscribers, Maddie. So Maddie, I hope you enjoy. As always, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content designed to help you rank up just like this. Alright, let's get right into it. We'll start with this angle right here. So this angle is a really interesting angle because I almost never recommend that you would actually play it on defense. And the simple reason for that is it's really easy to figure out where you're coming from. As an attacker, I know that the only place the opponent could come from is here, or maybe here if they're an omen and they teleported across. But if you're peeking into the attackers from this angle, it's really, really hard to actually get a pick because you're not sure where they are. They could be anywhere in this entryway. They could be over here. They could be over here. Maybe they snuck up here. Maybe they're over here. And so the elevation change and all the different options make it really hard to get a pick. Okay, let's move back to this angle. This angle is one that I like a lot more. It's not perfect. You definitely don't want to be holding out long fights here. But this is a good angle if you have an op, if you want to take a couple shots and then fall back. It's a perfect angle to do that before you set up again. All right, let's move into this angle right here. So in this corner, it's a pretty good corner. It works a lot. I've seen it work a lot. Shotguns are very powerful from this corner. And you can get a couple picks on some unsuspecting people. But the problem is you're trapped. So it's kind of a do or die sort of situation. And if you can, you want to be in an area where you have more potential to be more efficient and get more picks while dying less often. We should also talk about this angle too. You can jump up here to make a crossfire with this angle, which is a really nice crossfire. This is a pretty good angle right here. You can also jump on top of the box if you want some extra elevation, or you can come down on the other side of the box and play here or here with a shotgun. And usually running that crossfire does tend to work pretty well, but sometimes you'll have to sacrifice a long control. Now, this is one of my favorite angles right here. And the reason for that is people often walk through. They're often focused on sight when they walk past this box. And so they're looking at sight, and when they're doing that, you can just take them out without them looking at you. The problem with this angle is that if people jump up on this box, they'll be able to see you really, really easily, and that's a free pick for them. So it's definitely a bit of a risk. And then this angle is really not one I'd recommend very frequently unless you have some sort of system set up for smoking yourself out. Maybe if you threw a cipher trap right here and you took a fight and then you pull the trap and run away, that could work. That's really about it. And so that's pretty much everything to do with window. Now, this is another angle that I see people play commonly. And if you play this, it can be a very powerful angle, but I would not recommend peeking. And the reason for that is you're super close to this wall. The way that angles work, the closer you are, the sooner that the opponents will see you before you see them, just because your character is sometimes wider than your camera. There's different explanations of that, but basically all you need to know is that when you are super close to this angle, they're going to see you first, and that's a serious advantage. So I wouldn't recommend peeking if you do play this angle. If you play under here, though, I think this is a very powerful spot that works. It's a little bit awkward. And if you can get over like the awkwardness of like aiming up and down and around and things like that, this can be a really fantastic spot to get some really crazy picks. And best of all, you can kind of fall away from the window. You can kind of walk away or like do this. Like you can escape from it without getting traded, and that's fantastic. Okay, moving over to long, the advanced long positions. There's this angle, which I like a whole lot better than the other one, simply because you can play an op here. And, you know, they know where you are probably, but you could also be over here, so that's a good thing. On top of that, there's only really one spot they can be. They either come higher or they come a lot closer to the angle and they're lower. And this is relatively an easy flick. So it's not that big of a deal if they don't come exactly where you expect them to be. All right, let's move to this corner right here inside the octagon. This is a corner that is good for people who don't check corners. If people know you're here, if the other team pre-fires you, you're pretty much dead 100%, but it can be a good spot to get a pick or two and then run away. Once again, you'll want some sort of plan to escape from that angle, smoke yourself out, teleport across, jet dash, whatever. This is another angle. This is really more of an off angle, but you're trapped, so I don't really like this one too much. But it can be a nice creative angle that you can use to find some picks on some unsuspecting opponents. And maybe the element of surprise will be enough to help you win those fights. This next angle might be absolutely broken depending on what your rank is. And this is the angle, this corner right here, as well as jumping up on this box for some extra elevation. It's a great spot to take fights with people who jump out of window who maybe aren't really oriented. They're not really sure where you are yet. And so you can take a couple easy picks from that. And it's also a pretty good spot to fight people from long. The problem is sometimes you can get pre-fired, but because of the elevation change, unless they're ready to pre-fire both elevations, you'll sometimes get lucky with a 50-50 and you'll be able to pick them off anyways. And then the second problem is that you're also kind of boxed in, right? It's going to be very hard to escape. You can't really go this way because you could get picked from long and window. If you go this way, you're still going to be a very easy pick from window. You want to make sure you don't get spotted, and you're very vulnerable to utility that does damage, like a molly or like Sova darts or raised nades. Okay, moving right along, we have this up here. This is just a spot that's good for confusing people and for catching people off guard. I've found that this angle can actually be pretty effective, waiting for people who are trying to peek elbow, and you can pick them off here, but you do expose yourself a little bit to the octagon. This is, once again, another angle that might be a little bit hard to escape from, but if you have a mobility character like Jet, you can just do that and get out pretty easily. And so it's a situation where you could get a free pick, and then you can escape really quickly, but I wouldn't recommend taking multiple fights on top of this box. Next one we're going to do is elbow. I'm not a big fan of this corner in particular because I feel like a lot of people try to take a fight here just by standing still, and it's very easy to kind of strafe peek out from this window, similar to what I'm doing right now, but from window. And they'll have a really easy pick on you if you just stand still. So you really don't want to be taking a fight here continuously. You want to make sure that after your first couple shots, you either fall back this way, or maybe you commit to this corner. And this corner is another pretty good angle because people sometimes just don't expect you to be here. So you can get some free picks doing that. Once again, you're pretty boxed in. But if people aren't looking, you can sometimes get 2, even 3 picks just from this one spot. This angle is an angle that I am a huge fan of. You can either play it like this, watching long, or like this, watching window. The goal is just to prevent people from getting out of window very easily or getting across to sight very easily. So this is a very powerful spot that I recommend you learn and incorporate into your game, even if you don't play it that often. Okay, let's move across to the other side of sight. Right here we have the green box. This is an angle that I would not recommend playing really ever, just because when someone is in this corner, when you're peeking window, it's super easy to just spot this character if they have their gun out or anything. You can kind of see like part of it, and then you can just wall bang through the box and get a free pick. So you really don't want to be playing this corner. On the other hand, though, this corner is one of my favorite spots in the entire game on defense because people just don't look there sometimes. If the opponents decide that they want to go towards elbow, you can get a free pick when they're not even looking at you. If they decide to just rush plant and not check your corner, you can get a free pick without them even having a chance. And sometimes people will just walk through and just kind of go like this way, which is great for you too because you can pick them off. However, if you start getting wall banged or if there's an opera watching you, it's a pretty bad spot. So you want to make sure that you don't play this corner too often. It should be one that you play every few rounds, maybe vary it up a little bit, and just make sure that you're not too predictable. These 2 angles are pretty good. This one right here is one of my personal favorites. I play this one a lot, and it's just great for setting up picks and, picking people off from window. But once again, you have to make sure you don't overcommit to this spot because once people figure out where you are, it's easy to strafe shoot you. It's easy to pick you off with an op. But if you're good at staying relaxed and tapping heads, this is a great spot for you to play. And then also you want to make sure that you're wall banging both sides. Even if you don't think someone's there, if you think that you're not going to get picked off while you're doing it, it's a great way to get free damage or a free pick. I've even wall banged people off of the top of this box right here. And then this is the other angle that I think is quite good. You can play it like this, kind of trying to pick off the person who gets on top of the box. This is an angle that's very important to have good crosshair placement so that you can get people before they get you, because oftentimes they're going to be looking at you or they're going to predict that you're standing here. So having good crosshair placements, you could have a little bit of an extra advantage and win the fight is pretty important. And you can also play this spot looking at long, which is another really good angle, but you don't want to get overcommitted to this one in the same way that you would play that. So if you have to just fall back and hold the angle like this, right, you could start playing it like this, you take a few shots and you fall back and play it like this, fall back, play it like this, and just kind of work your way in. This is a pretty good angle too. Both sides But once again, you really don't want to get overcommitted here. I play this angle a lot, and it just seems to work for some reason. But I think that as someone who plays in window with an op a lot, picking off these players right here with an op is super easy because the CT players who are in this angle have to hit a headshot, but you can just hit a body shot. And they're really, really, you have a lot of target to hit from the window, but not a lot of target to hit if you're shooting from CT. Okay. And then this is probably the last angle. You want to stop people from getting into elbow. You can play one of these two angles. These are pretty good if you think you're going to catch someone off guard, or if you just want to set up a retake. That's really all these angles are good for. You're not going to be able to deny sight control from these areas, but you might be able to set up a really good retake, because elbow is a super important part of the retake, since you can start cutting off these different parts of sight without a lot of risk. All right. That's the overview of the bind B side, just going over a bunch of different angles you can hold. I hope you enjoyed the video, and Maddie, I hope this video helped you. Best of luck, everyone, and I will see you in the next video.